Get the U.S. out of the UN and the UN out of the U.S. That's a favorite slogan of the ultra-right. Why? This is Extremism 67 with your commentator, lawyer and former FBI Special Agent Milton Ellerin.
Listen to one of the favorite slogans of the ultra-right. Get the U.S. out of the UN and the UN out of the U.S. The message appears on automobile bumper stickers in many parts of the country and is a favorite theme of the Birch Society's Robert Welch, the self-styled communist expert Fred Schwartz, Billy James Hargis, the fundamentalist preacher and leader of the Christian Crusade, the Reverend Carl McIntyre, Dan Smoot, and all the lesser lights of the radical right. The United Nations, they tell us, was created by communists and is controlled by communists and serves as a center for Russian espionage against the United States. And the message goes out daily over their radio and television programs and in lectures and a torrent of printed material. Of course, the overwhelming majority of Americans, the United States State Department, and every United States president since the United Nations' inception in 1945 have a very different view. They consider the UN the world's best hope, perhaps its only hope, for lasting peace. But to the extremists, this only proves that our government, from top to bottom, is riddled by secret communist sympathizers who have duped most Americans into accepting what they call a den of communist iniquity. Americans who heed their government's call to support the UN in its work often come in for rough treatment by extremist groups in their own communities. Public-spirited companies, such as the Xerox Corporation, which seek to promote understanding of the UN, have been deluged with letters of protest and threatened with boycott. School teachers, librarians, ministers, and others who speak out on behalf of UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund, UNESCO, the United Nations Educational Service, the Food and Agricultural Organization, and other UN bodies have been labeled Reds or communist sympathizers and frequently subjected to midnight phone calls, anonymous letters, and frightening threats against themselves and their families. One of these Americans lived in a town near Columbus, Ohio. This man was a teacher who told his class about some of the achievements of the United Nations. Soon after, he found swastikas chalked on the walls of his home and hammer and sickle drawings scrawled on his car. He was awakened in the middle of the night by anonymous phone calls, and his young son received vituperative, unsigned letters that read, "Your daddy is a commie." The teacher called on his principal and the school board to support his right to teach and the children's right to learn, but he got no help from either quarter. Discouraged, he finally resigned and left town. Sadly enough, the majority had allowed itself to be intimidated by a noisy minority, just as has happened in so many other towns. Intelligent citizens can protect themselves and their communities against such defeats by observing some common-sense rules. Don't allow yourself or your neighbors to be taken in by glib generalities. Insist on facts. Nail down vicious rumors and innuendos. The United Nations Association of the United States and the United States Mission to the UN have literature available describing the work of the UN and can answer any questions. Write them for information. Encourage the organizations to which you belong to develop active and informative programs on the UN. Urge your public school and community libraries to stock books on the UN. But above all, inform yourself about the United Nations. Talk with your neighbors and friends. When you hear your churches, your schools, your courts, your government attacked, get the facts. Who is attacking? Why are they attacking? The right to criticize is a cornerstone of democracy. But watch out for the extremists who misuse that right to destroy your way of life.
Milton Ellerin, Director of Research on Extremism for the American Jewish Committee. Extremism 67 is produced by the Office of Communication, United Church of Christ, and the American Jewish Committee.